Yo, I'm Goose, and welcome to today's Tiny Table, where we are talking about superpowers, in particular, the superpower of improvisation, which is my thing. So I would like to make it so that you might be able to make it your thing if you want to. There are perks of it that not too many people know about. Most importantly, that it can get you in a lot of places. A lot of places. So it's basically adaptability. Okay, let me break it down for you. Most people think that improv means making things up because you don't prepare. But the real improv stuff is actually being so prepared that when you have to adapt, you can. Business never unfolds the right way. So you can pretty much assume that adapting will always be something you'll have to do, whether it's clients changing their minds or your content flopping, doesn't really matter. Even this video, as we talk right now, is me on top of a bus that we're currently converting, and the deck isn't even up yet. It just seemed like a kind of fun thing to come up here and shoot. And that is in large part why a lot of my stuff seems to work. Mostly that I'm able to have fun because it's spontaneous and it's fun. Now, that doesn't mean that structure, I'm incapable of operating a structure. In fact, that actually means that I'm able to bring some degree of structure to every form of adaptation. Improv can be a very interesting thing. It can make a rigid person disrupt and freeze themselves, yet at the same time, someone who can lean into it can find new information in a quick change. And it also, for me at least, allows me to stay present and build on what's happening, not what I hoped would happen, which a lot of times doesn't happen. That means that ultimately you're making things, anything, potentially turn into a possibility, a could be. And that's a lot more exciting than if this doesn't happen, nothing happens. It's not about having the perfect answer. It's about taking a problem, like I mentioned, turning it into a possibility, conversations into content, and unexpected moments into opportunities. I'll tell you a really cute example that kind of set the tone for my life in this improv world. There was a time back in, say, middle school. If you can believe it, I wasn't always an extrovert, and I had to teach myself this stuff because I wanted to be more extroverted, and at the time I really wasn't. And there was a event that we had where we were celebrating some of the teachers that had done really well in the class that we loved, right? And some of them were taking off, some of them were coming back for another year, but it was like, damn it, we're gonna celebrate these teachers. One of each student, there was a student that was assigned to each teacher, meaning they would go up and give a speech that they had written down and talk about how great the person was so that we could all applaud and they could feel really good. The bad news is, one of my favorite teachers there, the student that was assigned to them, wasn't there. And they weren't ready to adapt to the situation at all. There was no plan B. There was no setup for what happens if there's not a student there to read it, right? So what happens is they say one of the teachers comes up, says the teacher's name, and then the room is silent, which I knew because we had already been talking at the table like seconds before. Oh, where's this guy, right? I think his name was Justin. I think his name was Justin. So we're like, where the hell is Justin? Wait, isn't he talking? Oh shit, yeah, he's talking. And now we're gonna hear the speech. It was like watching a movie. And so the room is silent. The teacher up there has no idea what to do. They haven't run into this all day, and this is like the second to last or last speech that we were gonna hear tonight. And so in that moment, I had a decision to make. I could either sit by with this knowledge that I had and just be like, okay, well, I'll let them all take care of that. Good luck, everybody. Or I could be like, fuck it, maybe I'll go do it. Because I had more information than most people in the room at that time, which was no one's gonna come up and give the speech. So I said, I'll do it. And so I walked up to a few people's surprise, because I wasn't the assigned student, and I just came up with some shit on the spot. I don't remember what I said. In fact, as soon as I gave the speech, moments after, I probably would not have been able to tell you what it was. But what happened was, I had spent time prior to this putting myself in those situations and forcing myself to be the solution, where I wouldn't have anything prepared, but something would come out of it and it would be good, just like this. Now, I didn't really know what I was going to say. I'm just telling it to you as I go. And I've got team members here that prompt me with fun things. And so when I went up, I just let it flow. I put myself in a situation where I would be the solution, and I let it flow, and flow happened. So in a way, you sort of black out, and then when you come out of it, everyone's like, wow, good job. The teacher's over here beaming, just couldn't be more excited. And that truly did set the tone in a lot of ways for how later on in life I would operate. Instead of preparing a nice rehearsed system or trying to control the environment, I actually prefer to thrive a bit more in the spontaneity. And that may not always be the case. In fact, sometimes, like I mentioned before, it is good to have more of a system and a structure for what you're doing. But I like to lean a bit more on this side because it leaves more room for interesting things to happen and for odd, funny things to happen along the way. Something that's really interesting around the way that we work, and I talk about this every now and then, is that when you imagine someone leaving a conversation with you and having a good time and sharing with other people that they had a good time, probably one of the things that that's gonna make that happen would be laughter or relatability, right? You find these things in business and in communities that are in. You also find this in businesses that have communities or that are structured around community. And a big part of that relatability is being vulnerable so that others can be comfortable being vulnerable too. But a big part of that is also humor, which humor, I don't think we dissect often enough to be able to understand why someone says something and we have this weird reaction to go like, ha, 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 like breathe out repeatedly in kind of an uncontrolled, like it's a very unusual reaction, but for some reason it makes us happy. So let's kind of like reverse engineer this on a first principles basis. What makes people laugh, right? And why is this relevant to improv? The thing that makes people laugh, if you were to boil it down kind of scientifically, it's bringing two things together with new meaning. Just about any joke you can imagine is two seemingly unrelated things that were brought together with new meaning. When you do that thing, it elicits this kind of weird reaction from us. So if you understand that that's the basis for it, well then that means you have to find unrelated things kind of all the time. And you know what a really great way to find unrelated things and bring them together is? Leave it to spontaneity. Leave it to improv. And what that does is not necessarily pump the gas on, you know, what most people think you would want, which is productivity and authority, but relatability and fun and humor. Those things are arguably much more human, and it's what permits people to develop a kindness or an enthusiasm for you and being around you that you wouldn't find in other places. And this is the unlock that I'm trying to give you. How do you then take all of this stuff I'm saying and apply it to your own life? Well, I'd probably do it in a couple different ways. The first one is practice yes and. Yes and is this system of, it's actually popular in theater, where in order to make the audience have a good reaction to what you're doing, you put yourself in a situation where you have to say yes to whatever your other members on stage do and then add to it. Because the moment that you say no, it kills the vibes. And vibes are very important when it comes to human relationships, which you're gonna be doing somewhere in business, so you may as well pump the gas on those vibes. So, yes and, very important. Even if it's not something that you agree with, hey, these trees are crazy green. Maybe they're not, maybe they're totally dead and brown. You'd be like, yeah, they are. And I think that they could be even greener, right? I don't know, I'm coming up with a shit example, but you see what I'm saying, right? That elicits a better reaction than be like, no, they're not, they're fucking brown. Different reaction. 2 is a tough one, but I bet you can do it, which is choosing the next useful move, right? When you're trying to solve the entire situation at once, you can kind of overwhelm yourself and actually make the solution not arrive, just because you're trying to tackle the whole thing at one time. If you're instead looking at what are the tools and resources that I have right now at this moment and using that, you can effectively kick the can down the way so that you have more time to come up with a better solution. In fact, creativity is kind of at the essence of this. You need to be able to set aside time that you just let yourself be open to thoughts that can drop into your head, right? Wherever they come from, they can drop in when you've given yourself the space to receive them. Kind of an ethereal, weird thing, but that is the essence of creativity. It lives all in the same space. And third, also a massive cornerstone to creativity is learning to give yourself constraint. When you have limited time, limited tools, or limited resources, these are the things that, oddly enough, end up producing the greatest works of art, literature, interest, enthusiasm, and love out there in the world. In fact, most parts of like human culture, society, and I don't know, maybe I'd go as far as saying general enjoyment, come from us being able to create something with what we currently have. So imagine yourself in college like I did, where I would just open the fridge and be like, oh fuck, I don't have anything. Some people would end with that and walk off. Most of what I would do, and I kind of enjoy doing now, is I take what I have here. Okay, we've got ketchup, cheese, and a hot dog. I'll make that work. right? And so you take what you have there and you can produce what you can. So you either have no meal or you have a meal. It might not be the best meal, but it's a creative meal. And you're able to go with that and, like I said, kick the can a little bit further so you can go get whatever you're looking for later, or be totally comfortable with that and have more time and resources to allot to what you're going to. Now, that's one example, of course, but the point is that if you're truly able to be okay with limited resources and working in constraint, well, then you're probably going to thrive in a lot of different places. And by dag nabbit, you're probably also going to be able to lean into your improvisation just a little bit more. So in conclusion, improv is my superpower because I don't need things to go a certain way. I trust myself to respond to them no matter how they operate. And I bet that you might be able to strengthen the way that you walk through life a little bit too, just by leaning on it maybe just a little. Okay, that's all I got. Have fun, make friends, see you guys another day.